What volume? Hey, that shit make the whole world crazy. Everybody wanna smoke a bowl and be Jay-Z. That shit make the world be lazy. Everybody wanna smoke a bowl
able
and
to
be
sit and watch
Jay-Z.
that the whole game.
But I'm chilling, if they no fist that I'm killing. I turn the men into victims, I turn the women into strippers. I see you begging, I swear that I in the get me quicker and zipping zippers and pissing in pictures of vision. The riches is harder to got. I got the middle finger for the people saying to stop. I be the cream in the crop, I be the king to the top. I be the fiend that she's a dream, but that ain't all that he wants. I want a million fucking women, she's a linen, give me my percentage. Getting records even with Jesus upon the necklace. I ain't selfish, man, I just can't help it. I see the devil, man, smoke blown in my direction. Got ethereal affection, I'm a serious venereal infection. I'm the bullet from the Smith and Wesson, stressing no Lord. This is what they wanna know, where these souls gon' go when these souls so low.
Why it's been officiated this way? You know, it kind of matches up with it's just a rigged system. Well, when I was watching the Alliance, it didn't feel like that. It felt like pure football, people out there competing, and you know, it was no agenda by the league to try to give you a product that they think we want to see. So that was good.
Yeah. Right.
Well, hey guys, we are live. Just want to go.
What I think on it though, it was just I couldn't get past the uniforms to be honest. It reminded me of an arena league. Like, I don't know. I'm spoiled.
I didn't have a problem with the uniforms, man. Like I said, it was refreshing to see pure football and just straight competition and no storylines involved in it. You know, so I think that was cool.
Word. Yeah.
All right. What's going on, guys? It's your guy Devin here, Bridging the Gap. We are coming at you live and direct. You know who it is. It's our guy, Coach B. You know who it be. And we got our guy here, special guest, our guy, Melvin, Worldwide Wall. Say hi, everybody, Melvin.
What's going on with everybody?
All right, Coach. What do we got on deck today? What are we talking about?
Well, we're gonna find out a little bit about Melvin and the Wake Up podcast that he's started, and they're in the early stages. We're gonna learn a little bit about that. Then we're gonna touch on the governor's mess down there in Virginia. I mean, it's a mess down there, so there's got to be something to dive into that. And then we're gonna talk about a UN reparations meeting that happened back in 2016 about some kind of council came together and they were telling the United States that they think that they owe reparations to Black Americans. And the two main topics that they highlighted were slavery and mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. All righty. Well then, Melvin, I wanted to stop and talk a little bit about your podcast because I did actually stop by and listen to it on Anchor. I believe you're also on iTunes. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Anywhere else?
We're on like we're on Spotify. We're on Pocket Cast. You know, 10 different platforms. So,
so you guys are on Spotify. Okay. Well, I'll be listening then because that's where I usually listen to my stuff. Whenever I saw iTunes, I was like, please tell me it's not just iTunes because I don't like Apple.
Nah, Google Play, and you know, it's like I said, there's about 10 different platforms. So pretty much wherever you get your podcast from, you can get the Wake Up podcast on there as well. So we got about 4 episodes in right now. It's me and a panel of my friends. You know, it's more, you know, mostly going to be myself and 2 others. That's the main core. But I have probably about a whole panel of people, depending on what topic we do, that come and join us for the podcast. So,
cool.
I mean, it's nothing special, man. We just discussed, you know, pretty much what y'all do with Bridging the Gap. We discuss what's current, but we got a woke up approach to it, and that's why I call it the Wake Up. And you know, we just try to be careful on how we approach those things, and you know, make sure we're discussing the right things and not what's, you know, the popular thing to say. But we got a lot of humor involved in it too, because we all like to laugh, so it's not too serious.
Yeah, it doesn't get too hype. I get you.
And that's where I'm at. You gotta have that balance in it. You gotta have that balance. Because there's so much stuff. I mean, like I talked about with Dev once before, Melv. Like, there's so much stuff out there that people, you just believe, are they that stupid? Come on, man. And it's just hilarious. Like, minus the serious things that happen, but some people just do some stupid things, man.
You tell Melvin about the story that we had on our page that we shared about it was a fake story out of Florida about a man who was raping an alligator. And he got eaten by the alligator. Yeah. And like here's the crazy thing. It was like one of our most viral posts because everybody thought it was real. Like we've had people just sharing it going, yeah. And then we had a discussion about it. We're like, yeah, man, it's all fake. But the dude, it was so believable because the dude looked like John Gruden's son. He looked like he just, or not John, not John Gruden. Mark Davis's son. With his bull haircut, he just looked like he might rape an alligator. That's what I'm saying.
He looked like somebody that had a relationship with an alligator. I got you.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just goes to show you what people will believe, though. They'll believe without doing the research, and that's kind of what we do. Is like, make sure you do your research before you go out here and just start spewing what somebody else is telling you. And that's very important. And speaking on it, this is a fun fact that I found out too while I was doing the research. There on the Breakfast Club, Charlamagne was doing an interview with Snow the Product. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah,
she's
Snow. Sorry, go ahead.
She's a Mexican rapper, right? So I seen your podcast. I got it right away. I seen the title. I know what it means. You know, I got uncles and my dad. They, you know, that woke thing started really around that time in the 70s, 60s, late 60s, early 70s, and that during that era. So it was something that I understood. But the fact was that Snow the Product owns the trademark on that phrase. That's what I found interesting.
On what phrase?
On woke, being woke, the real meaning behind it. People use it now as a weapon. They'll say you're not woke enough, or you know what I mean. And that was her thing. She owns the trademark where she can brand it however she wants. She can go after people if she wanted to. She said she wouldn't because she thinks it went in the wrong direction, and one day she's going to relaunch it with the meaning of what it was used for with Latinos and blacks back in the 70s and 60s, and she wants it to go back to that, but she's or those type of like phrases or something. Maybe she attached it to a clothing line or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Wow, that's interesting. What's more interesting is why do they call her Snow the Product? That's what I want to know.
Snow the Product? Oh, I don't know.
Does she look snowy, or does she do cocaine or something? I mean,
it's a possibility.
I don't know, Neil. I'm gonna look that up while you guys are chatting because now I'm interested.
Is she real?
She's a square, but what she's saying, I can see through that. She said about who she hung around with in her earlier days and coming back and forth across the border from Mexico. So she knows something. If you name it yourself that, you know something.
Right. Gotcha.
Hey, by the way, though, I just wanted to put this out there, though. I wanted to tell you, from my understanding, you're active in the U.S. Navy. I want to say shout out, salute to you for service and protecting the country, man. I respect you guys for that. A1 for that.
For sure.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt, definitely. What I think you told me this before because I think it related to something like what we do around here. Like, is that something you could talk about, your position? Like, what is you actually do, or is that something we should stay away from, or something?
I mean, I can touch it briefly. I mean, it ain't nothing secret, but you know, my trade originally was an electrician. So I, you know, for about 15 years, I did electrical work. But you know, just recently I got retrained, and now I'm actually a climate specialist. Well, we call it a command climate specialist, but it's pretty much equal opportunity advisor, and you know, that's what I do for the commands, and I provide expertise on all equal opportunity matters for wherever command I'm working at. So
That's dope. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. All right, well, let's hop into have you seen, I know everybody's on here seen about what's going on down in Virginia's in the governor's office. What is going on down there? You got 3 people that are in line, like your top 3 people, and they're all on the cutting block. Their heads need to be cut off for the things that they're doing down. What did you hear? What do you think about that?
So I and I'm not good with all the names, but I know that was the one guy with the blackface issue from his childhood, and that picture resurfaced somehow just at the right time.
Of the internet, you're never safe.
Right.
You're never safe. You take a picture, a selfie, you're done. Even if you took one like years ago on like one of those like flash cameras, they're coming for you. They'll have that picture.
I know there's some people that want some of that pictures back right now, because I know a lot of couples have been sending all types of sexting pictures.
You're gonna get caught. You're gonna get caught. I said it one day, one picture. I told Dev before we went into this like venture, like, hey, some picture's gonna come out of me one day. We're gonna have to deal with it, but that's the worst thing you're gonna get. The governor's name, his name was Ralph Northam. I mean, he was the one. He had so many stories, though. He's like, I'm not sure if I was the one in the blackface or the one wearing the KKK costume. I'm like, how did that help your defense right there? How did that help any kind of defense right there for you to say that? So it was hilarious the way he was, like he's saying he's not going nowhere. He's not stepping down. You read all the comments in social media. It's just hilarious over there. What's going on in Virginia? I might as well go down there and run for Virginia, because it seems like they're just picking anybody.
Well, I was going to say, too, here's the worst part. How do you forget if you were the blackface guy or the Ku Klux Klan dressed dude? How do you forget that? I don't understand. I mean, I think I would remember putting on that uniform, or at least painting my face black that night. Unless you were just totally... I mean, wasn't it the 80s? He might have been on some, like, crazy cocaine or something. I don't know. He just don't even remember nothing, but...
It's
he remembers just whoever his spin doctor is advise him to say that, and you know, and kind of sidestep it, but he need to fire his spin doctor, because like you said, I mean, that was the dumbest spin I ever heard. I don't remember which one that was.
It didn't make no sense. And he's calling for the lieutenant governor, which is Justin Fairfax, because his is more serious. You know, the accusation and the temperature of things that are going on nowadays with sexual assault of females. In no way do I want to put light on that. But the governor's calling for him to resign. You know what I mean? While he's saying, I'm not standing down, but you need to resign. And he's the next man up to take his job.
So check this out. I thought about it. You know, so I guess the process of getting rid of a government official, especially someone with his position, is kind of the same as impeaching a president. You know, I guess it takes a little bit of effort on the Congress of doing it. But I'm thinking in my head, what happened to the power that we were supposed to have as the people? Because if we elected someone into office, right, it should be an easier process for we to, if they're not doing the job for us, that we feel like, I think it should be the same process. I think it should go to a vote, and we should be able to get a person out of office. That easy. Exactly. It should be that easy. So him saying, no, I work for you and you can't get rid of me, I'm going to keep working for you. That's horrible for a local government, or for the government that on the big scale. That's kind of horrible. I think we should have more power to elect and get rid of people if they're not doing the right job. So, I mean, I don't know how y'all think about that.
I totally agree with that, because it's ridiculous that you have to go if you want something done. They say write your congressman, or say these things, or join these groups, or sign these petitions. I mean, it's and there's so many divergent petitions. It really should just be that, okay, there's a bill out to impeach Donald Trump. And then everybody gets on top of that, and then literally if they get a I don't know what you'd set the limit at. That would be a conversation to have in legitimacy. I don't know if you would set would you set it like half of America, or a percentage of voting Americans, or what would you do at that point?
Majority, just like getting elected. So if majority can decide for the minority who's in office, I think if it came down to it where we was not satisfied, I think the majority should decide to get that person out of office.
Well, no, that's BS though, because the popular vote, didn't Hillary win the popular vote, but then Donald Trump won the electoral, so therefore he got in. Do you see what I mean by, like, the whole system kind of feels like garbage, because you're just like, well, we want this person, and they're like, well, we decided that it's probably better if you have this guy. You know?
Well, we are. I'm pretty sure we all in agreement that the electoral college is kind of trash. So I mean, that should be the first thing done away with. So
that's your way out. When they know the majority is not going to vote you in, that's the policy made to say, hey, well, now we just eliminated having to win the whole country, the big percentage of the whole country. We just got to focus on these states that are pretty much going to go the way, and they're going to concentrate on them. I just think the whole system is designed for it to do exactly what they want it to do. So I don't think there's any way to do that, but I do believe that should how it go. Majority rules and anything. Let's take a vote. Like, you take a vote, you gather the numbers, it's over. Leave it at that.
Yeah. I would be saying about it.
The third guy in line, though, down there. Now I got to give this dude a little bit of credit, though. I got to give him a little bit of credit, because
here we go.
For one, he's the third guy. He's the attorney general. He would be next in line if both of them stepped down. So, but he came out and said, hey, man, this is what I did. I wore blackface. But here's where I give him credit, that he knew that he was like, I was dressing like my rap hero, I get whatever he was saying, but I give him credit for knowing who Curtis Blow was at that particular time. So whoever gave him the spin, I give him the credit for saying Curtis Blow.
Yeah, he got a good spin, doctor. That was really good. You know what? A for effort, man. I can laugh at that. I'm not even after that guy neck, man. I mean, right. Hey, if he can spin it like that, man, maybe he deserved to be in office, man. But
he spun that one well. Like, well, there was nothing I could say about that. Yo, I was like, man, did he just say Curtis Blow? But I love it. I definitely love it. But that brings up another thing, like with this whole blackface theme, you seen it over the weekend. Gucci had this sweater did you see the Gucci sweater that Spike Lee's talking about, and the Prada keychain? I mean, that is just ridiculous, man. I really feel when Dame Dash goes off on his rants about culture vulture and the disrespect that comes back around after they feel like they take things from the culture, and then when it's time to give back, they don't give back. And then they do shit like this. That is really, to me, like where through all Dame's, all of his sideshow stuff, throw that out the window. But he is absolutely 100% about things like this, right? About things like this.
He could be. Devin, you wanna chime in on that before I do?
Mm-hmm. On the Gucci thing, I don't even know what you guys are really talking about in terms of it, because go ahead, say your piece on it.
Well, I mean, it's funny because ever since that thing surfaced on the internet, you know, the internet's undefeated with anything. So, I mean, you got so many memes and you got so many side notes and so much extra stuff. And I'm starting to see it's probably so far 3 or 4 different black celebrities who wore something that's similar to that type of blackface. They got a picture. I seen Beyonce with like a long gown type thing, and the whole front was blackface. Now you got You got, and I don't know who designed that. It might have been Gucci. Who knows? But
It might have been Gucci.
yeah, it might have been. But you know, everyone's throwing this up on social media, and I gotta check to make sure it ain't no Photoshop picture. But everybody's throwing these things up saying, okay, since you wanna counsel Gucci, go ahead and counsel Beyonce as well. And then they throw a Dragon Ball Z cartoon in, and they had a black character on Dragon Ball Z, and it was like, are you gonna counsel Dragon Ball Z? And you got tons of people saying, heck nah, Dragon Ball Z here to stay. You know what I mean?
Dragon Ball Z stays.
I'm not even gonna go there with the internet on this blackface thing, because at the end of the day, everybody who owns Gucci, I guarantee you, 75% of them is not gonna get rid of it.
Yeah,
I mean, because they bought the Gucci for a reason. You know, it's expensive, it's a waste of money, it's a horrible investment. But they bought it for a reason. They bought it to portray a certain image, and I mean,
status. They're looking for status. I mean, like my grandmother used to always say, yo, what do you know, like when you come in with I learned that young about rocking the Jordans. Like, you paid how much for those? She was like, you could have put that up, and instead of asking me for a ride, you know what I mean? Save your money, wear something affordable into your budget, and save money and get your own car. You know what I mean? So I learned that thing early, is like that status, like people run on that, whatever's hot and what's popping. And I think that right there would be a perfect segue to go into what we're going to talk about, because we want to, like you just said, there's people up there that are wearing these things and for status. And why is it that these type things come out and being represented by our celebrities, our so-called leaders that we're supposed to have, that are in the media and powerful in business and stuff like this? Why isn't certain things being brought across the desk of these people that we seem to, I mean, I do it. I listen to a lot of people that I would think that would attack a subject like that. And the subject is like, in 2016, the United Nations of experts on people of African descent said to the UN that they believe that America owed Black Americans reparations for slavery and mass incarceration. They focused on those two things. Like we talked about, Melvin, there's so many branches to that tree where you could go with it, where it's been going on for years and years and years and years and years up to this point. We can go on that for a long time, but we're going to focus just on that particular one. Like, why isn't our leaders speaking on something like this? They don't, I'm not saying like speak on it 24/7, day. But why isn't there no updates? Why are we not informing our community about what's being said, or what the moves are being made that that people are, or whether the movements, or whether there's people at the table discussing? Is there round table discussions? Why are we not hearing that in the media?
I mean, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of reasons why, but let's just go with the outlets that you might need to even get that type of information out. When you say leaders, who give me an example of who a leader is for Black America.
For Black America right now, that I think that everybody that would be able to relate to and know exactly who it is and watch the moves, I would say somebody like Hove.
Okay, so Jay-Z is a Black leader. All right, so two things. What other than a rap song would be his outlet to get mass information out to Black America, or to America?
He would just have to say, I'm about to do a press run. And he would get every platform that there is. He would get CNN. He would get every platform there is. As far as media, huh?
You think so?
You don't think that Hove can pick up that phone and get everybody to
not to discuss reparations?
Yeah, I would say, because the media wouldn't want to cover it. They wouldn't want to cover it. CNN
reported it. CNN reported it. They did an article on it. This one that I'm getting my information from was from the Washington Post, which is Bezos, which is Mark, or what's his name? The dude that owns what's the company we just had?
Amazon? Jeff Bezos?
Amazon. He owns the Washington Post. I think there is like the medias that have had conversations. I think they would let him. I don't think he's going to be able to run a whole smear campaign on there, but would he be able to talk about it?
That's tough, man. I say no, but these are the two things I wanted to bring up. Number one, I don't think that he has the outlet to do it. I don't think he could pull any strings and get Fox, CNN, or anybody to run something very serious that's going to result in moving that conversation along. Definitely not Fox.
Yeah, definitely not Fox.
So that's one thing. The second thing is you got to look at who are all Jay-Z's advisors, or who like for him to be in the position he's in now. Do you think he got there alone, or do you think he has the right friends, the right advisors, the right people investing in him, and all of that good stuff? You got to think about who all those people are, and if him discussing things like this would be
against their interest.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that I was going to get at too at the later part of saying, like, I was more or less saying, yes, I think if he was able to, because we're looking at this, I'm looking at this as what people would say, not what I would who I would want to hear it from, but how could you reach the mass of people with who would be the person to do it? You know what I mean? He would be the person to do it because everybody would know who he is and they would listen to what he was saying. Just per his 444 album. I'm surprised he was able to smooth that out and get that out the way he did. I mean, there was a lot of things in there, messages, if you didn't pick up on. But I was just saying it in the manner of people being able, they would recognize the messenger and they would listen to what he was saying. It would be the mass thing, but it wouldn't be somebody that I would really want. I just think he would be able to do the numbers. And in saying that, like, we're like what I'm thinking is why is it that he's in that place, like you mentioned, the people that he's getting advisory from and he's in business with. To get that far, you definitely are in business with a lot of powerful people that they definitely don't want that to be out there being chomped on. They're going to let you do certain things. So are we saying, like, is he like, okay, we're not going to go back and look back at the past and look for reparations? We're not going to do that. We're going to move forward. Is that a platform that he's taking, maybe with the reform that he's got with Meek Mill, Robert Kraft, and the owner of the 76ers? Is that something that he's saying? Is he saying that not to hurt any of his relationships, or is he saying, hey, let's just move forward? I think our people tried. We got this far. Is that one thing that they're saying? Because I know what I think. I think they're both important. But are our leaders saying that we don't want to touch that because it's going to ruin, like some of the things that you said, the relationships that they built, and there might not be no getting back from that?
I think it's exactly that. I think most of our leaders are compromised and don't want to do certain things because it's going to jeopardize what their plans are, what they consider their livelihood is. So if you look at the football situation with Colin Kaepernick, him and Eric Reed was the only one who actually almost lost it. Where Eric Reed just signed a 3-year contract
Panthers
today.
Yeah, right.
But Kaepernick, he put his stuff on the line and lost his whole career over trying to stand up for one issue, and that's police brutality. Right. So he lost his whole career. And when you look at, look at the Clippers situation with the owner when, they was trying to get him to sell that team because of the, what he was saying on the phone about black people and all that stuff. Doc Rivers, a black head coach, and a LA Clippers team that probably was more than 80% black on that team. They really wasn't willing to give up their playoff run because there was a team that had championship aspirations. They weren't really to give that up to stand up for what was right. That trophy was more important to them than the whole masses of black people in America. And they could have actually spoken, made a big statement for Black America, period, at that moment. But they decided they didn't. So every leader.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
every leader that you consider a leader that, you know, that's a celebrity or whatever, what they have and their livelihood and what they're aspiring for, it's too important to put it on the line for any matter that, you know, that's dealing with Black America, period. So,
right. And that's one of the reasons why I've like, if I could understand if all that was done, like when you just mentioned the Kaepernick situation, if that did like if the players dropped their helmets and said, I'm done, we're not moving forward with this until we address this scenario, then I can understand when people are saying let's not watch football. But how am I going to tell that, like it's one of those scenarios, like this dude's livelihood that he worked all of his life to get there to this point, and he's making money, and I'm sure he created jobs for people in his circle, taking care of his family and stuff like this. How are we saying to that person, like, how are we asking the average person that watches football to not watch it if the players are still going out there signing their $1 million deals, endorsement deals and all this, and still playing the game and pretty much being like, okay, whatever you want us to do, just keep those checks coming in? Because you didn't see a lot of people speak out.
You didn't. Because I mean, the Cowboys owner came out and was pretty much saying that, hey, y'all will not kneel. You get what I'm saying? Like you get initiatives like that, and I don't know what motivated Dak Prescott to come out and double down on what Jerry Jones said, but he did. And I mean, you never know what their motivation is behind it. I mean, I'm pretty sure he wants Jerry Jones to be sweet on him a little bit, and I'm pretty sure he don't want to go against Jerry Jones. So I mean, they actually probably
especially that organization, because that's America's football team, and if anybody was kneeling for that flag, you were gone. Jerry Jones was probably getting rid of you. I mean, you were on the first boat out. He was making a trade offer. He was probably gonna cut you. It didn't matter. He'd keep you for the rest of the season maybe, but he'd find a way to get rid of you. Because I mean that's how you see. Jerry Jones and anybody that has extracurricular activities with the Cowboys, they get rid of you pretty quick. I was surprised they had Greg Hardy, but I don't want to get too much into football. But yeah.
Hey, okay. Speaking on that though, you just brought up an interesting point, Dev, about how the owner acted there. Now I just mentioned about Hove and them and Meek and how they started this prison reform program with Robert Kraft. Now, what is the motive? Like, I'm trying to understand, like, this man is like, what, close to 80 or maybe in his 80s. He's rich. His family is well off. Why is he into this movement? Why is he getting into it? I mean, he was wearing a chain that Meek Mill, Meek Mill gave him at the celebration.
He was wearing a chain.
Yeah, he was wearing a championship, his album chain. He got him a chain and he was wearing it. I'm trying to understand, like, is this people saying, hey, because this guy, I don't believe this guy's going to change his ways this part of his life and saying, oh, my God, I've done what I've done in the past. And there's really nothing. I mean, he had the money to hide anything that he had dirt going on, but what is the focus of somebody like? I just don't understand it. Like, I want to be like, hey man, he could make a change. He could help moving forward with doing things like this. But is he setting something up maybe for his future kids, knowing where the country's going and how to survive or how to keep building on their legacy? I don't know. So I don't know what that scenario is. But it was very interesting to see him get involved in these things.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. And one thing I do know for sure, if he's getting involved with something Jay-Z's doing, it's obvious what demographic he's trying to gain some type of rapport with. All right, and it's the same. It's the same move that Obama did while he was running for president. Once he did two things. He had to prove that he was Christian, so he had to go to that church in Chicago, and they got black Christians to be on board with him, black pastors who could get another mass group of Christians. Then he had to kind of join it himself at the hip with Jay-Z and Oprah. So he was trying to solidify that demographic And anybody who used Jay-Z for anything is obvious what they're after. They're after that demographic for some reason. And what that reason Robert Kraft is after the black demographic, I don't know.
And I think to me personally, after thinking about it for a while, I think it's the future for their legacy. Maybe his kids coming up, maybe his grandkids. He's thinking ahead because he's solid where he's at. The way that they did it to get to where they're at was what they did. I think he's thinking future for his kids, so they know where the country's going. Because you're not going to be able to stop it with the microaggressions. You're going to have to actually do some crazy things right now. And I just think the American people are on board with just moving forward with it. And that was one of the questions like that we brought up with that that I was bringing up with the UN about them having that conversation 2 years ago. And we seem to have, like, I've done some research. I can't give you too much, too many names or too many people that I consider that should be speaking out on it. But it's split. Like, some people are like, man, just forget that, move forward, stop asking them for that. Like, stop asking white people for things, stuff like that. You get those conversations. And then you have the people like maybe our elders, like grandmothers that, I know my grandmother, I would listen to some of her stories and she would tell me what was going on. And she would be disappointed in the way that we were acting and why we weren't taking advantage and all the people that struggled. And I just think like that we're so split, that it's so split on those things that what is the, like, should that still be focused on? I personally think yes, because a lot of people lost their lives. I think there should be something spoken about that. And also for that to boost the forwardness that people are making, because the bottom line is you're going to have to deal moving forward. You're going to have to deal with every culture that's in America that has some kind of power structure to get forward with anything.
Yeah, well, if I may interject, I was going to say something about Robert Kraft quick and tie that in. And you're right with the idea that there's this movement that, of course, that we're becoming more and more tolerant. I mean, this is just here in the world, around the world. So I can understand why Robert Kraft is, riding that horse, so to speak, to say, hey, I want to be at the forerunner of this rather than the behind, because I don't want to be one of those rich families in America that's having to catch up to those to being a part of that demographic, the people that support all the cultures of the world. Now, what I was going to say, in particular, we were talking about the reparations and the black community being split. I mean, it's a very hard thing to think about. Do you just move forward and say, well, white people have done, they've done enough, and the white people that are alive, some of the white people, most of them that are growing up now, they were helping us trying to get out of it and everything. Not to say there aren't racist people. God, I couldn't say that. Not even close. But when I think about it, at the same time, we paid reparations to Native Americans and Asian Americans, right? That were in here during internment camps during World War II. And whenever they said we gave natives back land and all kinds of different incentives, because we kind of killed their people and took all their land, and then we were like, yeah, that was pretty crappy of us to do that. So I couldn't see why you couldn't give reparations to black people, but what I can see is we have white people that will get back on board. They will get on board with the movements, the movements of the black culture, right? White people. But what happens is that they don't want to say they've done anything wrong, right? Because they don't want to pay, because some of the white people that are alive today, the next generation's coming up, they weren't a part of that slavery and the Jim Crow and everything back in the day. And I feel like that's why maybe they wouldn't want to support reparations, because that's going to be probably what I'm assuming those reparations be paid out of tax dollars, right? Back to the African Americans. And I'm not saying that's why I don't support it or anything, but I'm saying that's why I can understand why the white America coming up and growing up is going to be like, they're not going to be like all aboard the getting this back for the black community train, coming from a white perspective.
It's interesting you said coming from the white perspective, because I don't see it as a white issue when it comes to reparations. I see it as an American issue. Mm-hmm. So whenever people use American and white as synonyms, I find it kind of odd.
Oh no, I wasn't. Yeah, I said let me be clear. I wasn't using that as a synonym for Americans. I was just saying like the white Americans, because we were just talking about the black culture in general. And maybe you're right. I shouldn't use that synonymously, because there are also black people. It's definitely Americans. There are also black people who are also saying, well, I don't really want all my tax dollars to go back into paying for this whenever we got to pay for this other thing, or whatever else is going on. We should just keep moving forward.
No, I wasn't saying that you was using it synonymously, but I'm just saying in conversations like this, you will find that same you find a comment where people would say, why should whites pay blacks reparations? And I don't look at it as whites paying anything back. I look at it as America actually paying a debt that's owed. All right. So and if you look at all the tax-paying Americans ever since slavery was ended, it's not just white or black. It's actually a mixture of all types of races. So when America pays it back, it's not one race paying another race reparations at all. So that's number one. Number two is we actually got a Democratic presidential candidate. I don't know if y'all read up on Marianne Williamson. And she's not into politics that much. She's actually a self-help guru. She's Oprah's spiritual counselor, and she's an author. Grew up Jewish, but she uses a Christian vernacular whenever you hear her talk, so you wouldn't even know she was Jewish by listening to her. But she's actually running a campaign, and one of her biggest things is she's trying to propose $100 billion reparations plan for Black Americans, which sounds great. It sounds great, but $100 billion with the amount of Black Americans is in America, that would not equal more than $5,000 for each person.
Now, in saying that, okay, like you just put a tag on it, like the number, well, she did, and you're just like, I didn't hear that. I haven't seen that yet. Did she already throw her hat? She announced and threw her hat in the ring already? Okay, that's probably, yeah, I just seen like Kamala and all them. I seen them, or Kamal, whatever, however she pronounced her name. She's a little sketchy to me on the side, but I seen Elizabeth Warren and all those, Beto, but I didn't hear that, so I'm gonna have to check into that. Thanks for bringing that up. But since she put a tag on it, like that gets me to saying, like, what is the reparation? Are we just putting a money tag on it? Because to me, there's a lot, because you got it going. And even after this, I did a little research on that. There is no buzz in Congress talking about that since that was said at the UN. It just fizzled out, like they let it go. And then you got the people that are fighting for reparations from Georgetown University. They did a thing on some of the children or grandchildren of people that were sold to get their great grandchildren to get that university started. And there's just like, are we talking just that? Or are we talking like, man, you gotta, like, to me, I think the power in it is for the people that struggled. And you got, because we all know this, going back to slavery, freeing slaves, there was white people, there was all kinds of people that were involved in getting that done. And there was people dying, there was white people dying. Now we're looking at this scenario by saying the government has to admit that what they did was just totally crazy, out of line, out of pocket, and start with that one right there, and start with all the generational things, like you just said. There's so many Black people to put a price tag on it, like the mental anguish that it caused, the families that it's broken up. I've been a part of seeing how systematic racism and systematic anything that's systematic, laws and policies that destroyed the culture. And I just don't see like a price tag being on it. Like you could use something like Black Wall Street. Like Black Wall Street, they've been trying to get reparations. I think just the last one died maybe a couple years ago. And they kept rejecting that and keeping it quiet and won't admit that something horrible happened there. I think admitting, like, what are we at? What is the reparations we're asking for? Because if it's just cutting a check, that's never going to happen. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think it's more or less like show that this happened, show that this has been going on, for years. Like I said, there's so many branches to this. We could do this for days, but I just think, what is the reparations that are suitable? What could be suitable?
It can't be money. It can't just be money. It really can't. So I think what actually would suffice is too high of a price for America to pay, because America would look totally different if they actually made it right. However way they can do it, I think it'll turn America upside down, and I think that's too much of a price to pay for them to do it. So it's gonna take the guy to actually do it. So I mean, I think that's just just sins that America is gonna have to be judged for by the Creator. So I mean, I don't see it happening. And $100 billion, I wouldn't accept it anyway.
Yeah,
right.
I was gonna say, if I can interject, that if you I'm saying hypothetically, if we are giving something back to Black America, I'm thinking that it has to be something. It can't just be money, because of the me and Coach have already talked. We had a conversation. It's kind of similar to this about people. If everyone was just given $1 million, how quick everybody would just go back. There'd be poor people again. Like, you know what I mean? Because they wouldn't invest that money correctly or anything. Andrew Summerlin in the chat says America can't afford a wall, let alone all of that. Pay it back. He said he can't afford a wall, let alone paying back Black America. But yeah, but yeah. So I'm thinking that you'd have to do something where like Coach said, you'd have to obviously admit to everybody and say, yeah, like, this is it, this is the deal. This is what went on. We apologize. Make that first as a nation. As a country. Make that. But also, I think you need something that would I don't know, it'd be institutes or programs or whatever that would rebuild and help educate and rebuild Black communities that have been ruined or ravaged from redlining and all kinds of different practices. And help them build generational wealth. Because I think that is the key to getting everybody back on the same foothold here in America. So I think that's the best way you could do it, but I don't foresee it. Just like you said, I don't foresee it happening, because I just see that America's just gonna try and bury the hatchet, so to speak, and move on and do what they do.
Devin, I apologize. I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I gotta. Are we live? Because I gotta actually run. So I'm gonna have to end it. Short, but this is one thing I would say. If we did receive reparations and whatever capacity, we would have to leave, because there will be so much resentment.
That is true.
You think it's tension now with just make America great again hats and the wall talk conversation? Think about if America actually gave Black people something that changed their financial position and changed everything in America. It would be so much resentment between the races. We would have to leave. We couldn't get that money and stay here. It's not possible.
Oh yeah, it'd be hectic. Why don't you go ahead? I see you got to dip out, and me and Dev will close it out. Why don't you go ahead and talk about your podcast, where they can find you and all that, and I'll get back with you at a later date.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so we are the Wake Up, and I spelled the with DA, Wake Up Podcast, and you can check us on iTunes, Google Play, Pocket Cast, and all other platforms you get your
Anchor and
podcast
Spotify. I did see Anchor, so Anchor and Spotify.
No doubt. Anchor and Spotify, and then also you can get me on Twitter at The Wake Up, or you can get me on Instagram at the same thing, and you can also inbox me on Facebook, Melvin Provide Wall, and yeah, that's it, man. I appreciate y'all having me on the show, man, and I definitely stay tuned to Bridging the Gap, man. Y'all some cool brothers, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, Melvin. You were awesome having you here. Take care, brother. See you soon.
All right, yep.
Peace. Yeah. Dev, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, live and direct.
Okay, so like what you just brought up, you said like we were just talking about the price tag of the money. Like, this is what they were suggesting. I was hoping to get, but he had to run. So, but they were suggesting this council is made up of, civil rights, like lawyers from around the world, from different countries. And they said that the reparation, in no way did it have any like number on it. Didn't have say like we're going to give out numbers. They think this is what they suggested was in a variety of ways. Is what I pretty much said has to happen first for anything is the government saying, yeah, this was happening. So a formal apology, health initiatives, which I'm trying to understand how that relates. I don't understand it, but psychological rehabilitation, which I truly understand, and technology transfer. I'm not understanding what that means. Financial.
I'm just trying to think what a technology transfer would be. Maybe it would be giving them access to technology that maybe they don't have in their areas. Maybe like if you're talking about rural African Americans down south, they might not have those available to them. Maybe something like that. I'm not sure, but go ahead.
And then financial support, and meaning that I'm not sure what they mean. I don't think they mean like just giving out money. I think they mean in like maybe in small business or loans and stuff like that. And that's been
yeah, or like programs, maybe like WIC kind of deals or something, something like that.
Well, that's what I kind of think technology. Thinking about technology transfer is because maybe it's something like. Because there was so many stuff. If you didn't have power, we know, like if somebody invented something, you weren't going to get credit for it. They stole it. So maybe there's something
like patent transfers.
Yeah, something like technology, like somebody invented something, they stole it, and then they can prove that it was stolen, and they might give that back to the to the family tree. And then the last one is like debt cancellation, which I could fully understand, things like that. So those are the things that they were suggesting, and it's just one of those things that I'm trying to figure out, like why it's not, because to me it'd be useless to talk about anything about money. It doesn't really make any sense to like just give out money. It has to be a more in-depth like thing of what they're like suggesting to repair family trees, because these things tore apart family trees, bro.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about just Black Americans. We're talking about the people that helped fight for that. You know what I'm saying? Like what Melvin said when he said comparing white to America is too, you know what I mean? Making them synonymous. That's not the thing, because there was countless people that died for that during the Civil War and fighting for freedom in that sense.
Right. Well, again, and when I was speaking about it, and that's why I was trying to clarify it, was because I'm speaking for there are Republican people, and maybe not even them, just people in general. There are white people that this country is God blessed. It was made for God. They put that in the Constitution. There's people that say there's the people that say this country, why should we have to pay these people back? And because they believe that white America is synonymous with America. They're those people that do believe that. And that's why, that's why when they think about that, they think like their tax money is like, well, we shouldn't go to that, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have anything to do with that, and yada, yada, yada. And then but Melvin made a great point that I wasn't even thinking of before he left. I think it was like one of the best points I heard was that you're right, because we already have this heated climate that we have right now, right? With like we're gnashing at the teeth, especially with the situation in government right now. And I mean, if we paid reparations back, I mean, it would be animosity, because you know what I mean? They'd just be the people, like, especially I know the people around here, the people that I know would be like those lazy N-words, and that they got to get their money back and whatever. And you know what I mean? It would divulge so much worse than it already is. I could totally see it.
It would add fuel to the fire. And I'm surprised it isn't being used as a weapon right now. I'm surprised, with no intention on doing anything, just bringing it up.
Yeah, right. Well, I think both sides don't want to talk about it. I do. I think because there are people that are in like the pro African American and all the racist sides who are gonna say like, yeah, you need to pay those reparations, but at the same time they're like, well, if we bring that up and then we start talking about it, then we're just gonna kind of cause a frenzy that we can't even control any longer, because either way both sides want to control the demographic that they're aiming for, that they identify with. But I think you would lose a little bit of that if you're advocating for it and if you're against it, because it would be something so, I think heads would explode. That's what I think. I think heads would literally explode on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think that me and him are going to get a little deep into this, and you'll be on it, and you'll help with the putting up the research and showing us a little bit. We'll get a little section in there for you too. But I think going in depth of some of the branches, like you mentioned, things like Jim Crow, redlining, the welfare system, things like that. I think like why we do what we do around here is not to like specifically. I just think that people don't have the information. Like if one person out here was like, oh my God, I never realized that. Because I know that from coaching kids, I always test their, what do they know? What are you being taught in school? I've been far removed from school. So I'm asking them questions and things that they don't even know. Like, so it's not being taught. So you're being taught from generations of, you see what I'm saying?
Other
You're not
people.
getting. Yeah, you're not getting the research and the information yourself, because when I have conversations with some people that think like some of the things you just said about if that happened, what would happen, if you gave them the information and they were able to make a common sense and have a heart type of person, if they don't have that and they don't understand what some things that need to be addressed just to be a good person, like common sense shit, just to be a good person to move forward, then those people definitely don't want anything to do with moving forward as a country and of all the people that live here and living together and just moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I got two things I got to say. There's two people got to talk to us, send us a chat. We got Trey saying, "What's up, fellas?" He must have just joined in. How's it going, Trey? Oh, and Adam Zook's here. My cousin Adam Zook. You're the man, Dev. Hey, thanks, Adam. Appreciate you, brother. And Andrew said, a monument like a Statue of Liberty with a large engraved apology and reminder of the faults in our history would be a good start for reparations. But my final thing that I was going to say about the point that you just made, right? In particular, oh God, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I was so flattered by my cousin saying that I was the man that now I've lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry, Adam. What was the last thing you said? Sorry. What was the last thing you said?
Just basically people not having the information to be able to make a judgment, but make a common sense, like give a common sense answer instead of just spewing what they've been told for generations.
Yeah, well, the thing that I was gonna say was maybe I mean, me and you have our disagreements on both of those things, so I'm not gonna go into like the information stuff. But what I was going to say was that that the information, you wouldn't find it if you weren't looking for it, because I wouldn't have heard about this had you not brought it to my attention. And that's what I'm saying is like, literally, we are so in the dark about a lot of things that are going on because we don't get that information unless some reporter gets it to a big printing press. So which what I mean by big printing press is like, CNN, Washington Post, wherever. We don't get that information unless it's there, and it's hard to find those news sources. If you're looking for a story, you don't know what it is because you don't even know what to look for. And Trey Frazier, of our boy from over at the Barbershop Sports Podcast, asks, Coach B, I know you got something to say about Kareem Hunt because he got signed to the Browns. Yeah.
Tell him beat it.
Tell him beat it.
I got time for you right now, Trey. I ain't got time for your craziness right now, Trey. But
you ain't got time for the craziness.
Shout out to Trey. But yes, and me in closing, my last thing that I'll say about it is, and yeah, you're right. You're not going to find it until somebody falls on that sword. That's why I was saying today, like we had that conversation where who would be the person that could get that message? He would have to fall on a sword. Like until like Cardi B comes out on stage and says that, well, she has said some things, people listen. But I guarantee you she got reprimanded for that. I guarantee you the people that are signing her checks from up at that big Atlantic said, yo, you can't say too much and can't do that too much. Can't go too far into that. So until somebody falls on the sword and says, you know what, fuck these checks. I'm going to come out and give the information, because that's the only way you're going to get it. If it's a viral moment, like the majority of the country will get it at one time, is if it's a viral moment coming from somebody that you see on social media that people listen to, whether it's negative bullshit that they're spewing all the time. If I guarantee if Tekashi was out here and he got the chance, spoke on it, everybody would know about it, right?
Yeah, everybody would know about it for sure. Okay, so yeah, all right. So that's everything I wanted to say about that particular topic, and I guess we'll have something planned out in depth, talking about that with links and everything. We'll plan that out with Melvin. Again, we want to thank Melvin for coming on and hanging out with us. Again, his podcast is the Wake Up Podcast. You can check him out on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, anywhere you listen to your podcast. He's basically there. He's in your ear. And you know, Trey, Coach might hide from the Kareem Hunt situation, but I will say that the Browns signed a great kicker. My cousin Adam says it's sad that people with the best opportunity to speak out are targeted the most for the commentary that they offer. Yeah.
What? Say that again.
He said it's sad that people with the best opportunity to speak out are targeted the most for their commentary that they offer. He was saying, so like Cardi B, like those people that come out and we hear from them, or you know, Kanye, or you know, or the celebrities, you know, not just black celebrities, but celebrities in general. The minute they say they have an opinion on something, we crack down on them because everybody knows them, and we're like, man, your opinion's worthless, and then, you know, they're antagonized, you know, just for having their opinion.
That's why I believe people got to, you know, like it's one of those things where you got to get the information from sources that are not in the mainstream, like some of the real people that are actually doing the research. And like we always say, man, do your research. Do that research before you make any kind of decision that is pretty much hurtful and hateful. And if that's not what's on your heart and you don't understand how to connect facts from just feelings and people like stirring up bullshit, that's what you got to do. Do your research.
Yeah, you got to do your research. Yeah. And my cousin Adam again says in reference to Cardi B. So he was just stating that, you know, that Cardi B is someone that she has the best opportunity to speak out, but she's targeted the minute that she would give her commentary. So it is what it is. Alrighty, guys. Well, then we're gonna wrap up the show. Then, Coach, you didn't have anything else you wanted to say?
No, that's it. I'm good.
Alrighty, guys. Hey, I would encourage you, please, to go like this page if you haven't already. Follow us on Facebook. That's Bridging the Gap, or at Bridging the Gap 55. Again, check out the Wake Up Podcast. Also, hey, if Trey's still kicking around, go check out Barbershop Sports Podcast. The show's produced by Mediated Media. Coach is holding up a card for you there. Check out our page, Mediated Media, for all of your media creation needs. That's where we come in, baby. And as always, stay beautiful. Take care of yourselves. See ya.